With my hook for a hand, I'll split you from the groin to your gullet.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs? Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
It's Valentine's Day. Well, it might not be Valentine's Day when this episode's released, but it is Valentine's Day today. One of the most... Is this a useless holiday?
A useless holiday?
Yeah, is this useless?
I don't know. All of them are useless to me.
I know. Yeah.
I'm not a holiday person.
We aren't.
Oh, Halloween, though. Okay,
Oh,
no. Halloween is not a holiday. It's a lifestyle.
Way of life. And we just happen to have one day a year where it's everyone's way of life. So,
Right.
everybody gets to come into our house for a little bit. Well, not literally. I mean,
You don't get to come to my house.
Stay out of this house. Get out. No, but no, like you had showed me a story. And when was the last time we bought gifts for each other? I bought you that hoodie you're wearing today because it is cold as balls here in Oklahoma right now. It's like -2.
No, it's negative. It's -8.
It is
with
negative.
a wind chill of -30.
It is -8, and we record in our garage, which is our converted bedroom too. So we got to sleep here. It is -8 out here, and we are freezing balls recording this because we have to turn off all the heaters and stuff. But I bought you that hoodie, which you're wearing currently, which looks very toasty, and I'm very jealous.
It is very toasty.
But when was the last time before that we bought each other gifts on holiday?
Never.
I think what helps though is we give each other free reign to just spend money.
Oh, well, I mean, not free reign. That sounds just like we have like a bunch of fucking money.
Oh, we have no money. We have no money. It's a decision. You make a decision. Do I want to eat something good or do I want to buy this?
Right.
But anyway, needless to say, we are not Valentine's Day fans.
Keep your chocolate.
Yeah. But Valentine's Day, and this is like I said, this is coming to... Oh, wait, I didn't even introduce the show. We're in the show here.
Hey, guess what? We're in a show here.
We're doing a show. We're not just talking. This is Night of the Horror File, and welcome to a podcast where I take a horror movie and have my beautiful wife, Brittany, watch it. And then, she judges it. Sometimes very harshly. I don't know how today's episode is going to go, but
we haven't talked about it really at all.
No, I've stayed away from this one because I really want to know your thoughts on this. But what did we watch this week?
Candyman.
That's right, 1992's Candyman. And this is coming to you lovers a little late, but hey, we can celebrate the most commercial of commercial holidays any day of the week, really. I mean, it's not what the fuck. Anyway, Heart Day.
Heart Day.
But more importantly, it's also Black History Month. So our feature today kind of relates to both. It's a love story and it is amazing.
It's a very tragic love story.
Well, in its bones, we'll talk about it.
I don't think it's a love story.
Oh, it is at its heart. It's a very, very good love story. But Candyman, written and directed by Bernard Rose, was based on the short story by the great Clive Barker. So technically, this is also a Clive Barker movie, and this will be our third because we did Nightbreed and Hellraiser, which Brittany was not a fan of Hellraiser.
It's just not what I expected it to be.
No, I understand. You expected a lot more from that movie.
Too much, apparently.
I think you expected way too much, to tell you the truth. Now, this film came to be after Rose and Barker met shortly after Clive had finished work on his film Nightbreed. And go check out that episode. It's an amazing episode. But Bernard Rose had read the short story, The Forbidden, and was interested in bringing it to the screen. Now, Clive agreed to license the rights, and Candyman was on its way. Now, Barker's original story The setting was very British. Obviously, I mean, he's British. The whole thing took place in Liverpool and was a commentary on British class system. I think Candyman in that book was like a yellowish pale kind of character with like a big ass red beard.
Oh.
Quite the opposite of what we get here.
Okay.
I don't know. I agree with the change because that sounds silly.
Right.
It was Bernard Rose's idea to refit the story to Cabrini Green's public housing development in Chicago and base his version on race and social class in America, particularly in the inner city. Now, Cabrini Green factors heavily into the story, and we will discuss a little bit about that, along with plenty of the allegories located within today's film. Hopefully we do this entertaining like, but you know how I get. Also, one source of inspiration may have actually came from an article in the Chicago Reader. I believe the year was 1987. The murder of Ruthie Mae McCoy, who was a resident of Chicago's Abbott Homes housing project. Now, McCoy was killed by an intruder who accessed her apartment through an opening behind the bathroom's medicine cabinet.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there is some truth to a part of this movie.
Oh.
But there is a lot of themes and awesomeness flying through this movie. So let's dive into 1992's Candyman.
So it starts
You
with
know.
me cutting all your toes off and shoving them in your nose. Sorry, I don't know why.
No,
that's just
that's
the first
okay.
thing that came to my mind.
As I mentioned, this was shot at Cabrini Green. Well, specifically the exterior hallways and staircase scenes. Cabrini Green was rife with violence and crime, and I'll talk why, in theory, in a moment, but there were gangs in the area that kind of controlled things within. And to be able to shoot on location required the producers to make a deal with the ruling gang members of the area.
Oh.
This deal involved casting them as extras in the film. So in a scene later on, you'll see a few guys accosting Helen and Bernadette when they first come into Cabrini Green.
Mm-hmm.
Those were actual gang members.
Nice.
I know. So
In
pretty
exchange for filming there. That's
yes.
crazy.
And you guys can look up the history of Cabrini Green. I'm not going to go into all the murders and stuff because we'll be here all day. But it was very rife with crime.
It was?
It
Or
was. It was very
is it not a
dangerous.
thing anymore?
It was torn down.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. Most of the, you have, and I believe Nia DaCosta's Candyman, the reboot or spiritual sequel coming out soon, deals with gentrification in the Cabrini Green area.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's what happened, and we'll talk about gentrification in a little bit, but let's get into it.
Okay. So it starts with a swarm of bees and Candyman talking about blood and his hook for a hand and how he's going to split you from your groin to your gullet. And then you get a shot of Chicago's skyline and all of these bees just swarming out of the skyline.
Yes.
It's
a
very
great
creepy,
looking scene.
kind of.
What's really cool about this opening, and not just that you hear Tony Todd's creepy ass dialogue immediately. I love his dialogue in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because it comes at you in like a poetic form and stuff like that. And they put that modulation on his voice. And his voice is already smooth like butter. So that already you're just like, whoa, this is creepy. But you see these high-rise buildings looming over looming over the entire city and stuff. And the bees slowly rising to the surface. Now, I mentioned allegories, and throughout our show today, I'll discuss them. But one that continuously hits me in this film, and it might hit the listeners as well, maybe you, but this is an opinion, by the way, opinion alert. But to me, these bees are kind of like the past horrors of America coming back to haunt us all. Especially in this shot, we can build these amazing towers and constantly progress and move forward in vanity. But unless we address the horrors of the past and try to fix those, they'll constantly rise to the surface and knock us down a peg.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we can see that in the last 4 fucking years, fuck.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking it the whole time. So when you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even debatable that this country was partially built on blood and the backs of enslaved people.
For
it's
sure.
It's not debatable. I'm sorry. But anyway, now this shot was also pretty revolutionary. especially the aerial shots of Chicago in this opening scene during the credits and stuff, that was done with a new machine at the time called a Skycam, which could shoot with a 500 millimeter lens with no vibration. So that's why everything's so still. And like when he's rising up from the street and stuff, like and going over the scenes in Chicago and stuff, that's why everything looks so still. Like it's a very still shot and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't think we discuss past this, but like the cinematography in this movie is gorgeous.
Oh, I agree.
Like this movie is
Oh, yeah.
gorgeous. It really highlights how beautiful Chicago is.
Right. Which I didn't know.
Yeah.
But not that I've ever been to Chicago.
Well,
But
even the urban areas where, you know, people are like, oh, that is trash and shit. It still has its own beauty to it. You know?
I think, I don't know. This is just me. I think graffiti is gorgeous.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
Like,
it's awesome.
All different kinds of graffiti. And I could spend like hours just staring at a graffiti wall, just seeing all the different like artwork and stuff that's gone into it.
No joke.
Because most of the time it's somebody either just tagging it with their name or beautiful artwork, no matter how big or how small.
Right.
I really love it. And what I noticed as far as cinematography in this movie is a lot of movies when they're shot in a dark room,
Right.
the whole shot is like dark. And I felt like I could see everything in these dark scenes.
Well, that's with the lighting. That's something also we probably won't talk about much here in a minute, but the lighting in this movie is so perfectly placed. Like, we're not doing it any justice. You guys have got to see how beautiful this is, but there's scenes where it's just Helen, but it's lit in a way where she's highlighted. And like anything she's looking at, it gets highlighted with the same light. And Bernard Rose does a thing where he closes up on her face and he does that classic,
like
the
a
classic
blurred
shot.
background.
Yeah, with the blurred background and her face is just lit. But it's like, it's hard to explain because I'm not going to go into.
The best way I know how to
I'm not gonna go
explain
into
it is Morticia Addams.
Yeah, where it lights her eyes on and stuff, and you see that gaze and stuff she has, the woman gaze, and that's just it's a shot. It's shots like that, and again, I'm trying not to use technical terms because we like the layman's the showdown for everybody so they understand, but like. It's shots like that aren't used in movies anymore. Nobody uses that because I think they think it's too cliche and too much. But I appreciate shit like that.
Oh, I do like it. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm catching these things more and more.
Well, yeah, and this is a movie in 1992, and I would say it plays out like a noir movie. And I know you haven't seen too many of those, but we will cover at some point. I'm sure we'll hit noir, but like. It harkens back to films like that, like the Maltese Falcon and stuff, in the way it's shot. And I don't think movies like that weren't doing that around this time. There may be a few, but not as well known as Candyman, because Candyman was a big thing when it came out.
So now we meet Helen. She's talking to someone that's telling her a story about a woman that was babysitting. She has a guy come over and tells him the legend of Candyman. They start to say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, but the guy only says it 4 times. He then goes down to wait for her because they're going to do it or whatever.
Yeah, they got to do it.
Yeah. And she, for some fucking reason, looks in the mirror and says Candyman for the 5th time and then gets killed.
Yeah. And the guy here, that's Ted Raimi. that's our good friend Ted Raimi from Blood Rage. Remember, he was the condom salesman, and then from all the Evil Dead movies, he played Henrietta in Evil Dead 2 and Fake Shemp in Evil Dead, and then he was 3 different roles in Army of Darkness.
Okay, yeah.
And in our Patreon, the Campbell Hour, he's going to be coming up in season 2, I believe, as Bruce Campbell or Ash's best friend.
Nice.
So that's coming up. Yeah, I just realized you're not as familiar with Ted Raimi as I am because he is such a recognizable face.
To you?
Well, you know what we're going to have to cover is his movie Skinner, where he's a serial killer. It is such a good
Dun,
movie.
dun, dun.
Kind of a hint to next month. Not that we're going to be covering Skinner, but serial killers play into a big major theme next month. But anyway, let's. So our hero. I called him our hero. Our horror icon is more what you would call this. Candyman is based on two urban legends. You know, the way he works. Bloody Mary, who appears in a mirror and then kills you. When you say her name, I think it's three times, five times. I don't know.
It's 3.
Urban legends play like telephone.
Yeah.
So like it goes back and forth, which is wonderful about urban legends. Because what's kind of scary though is that a lot of urban legends, some of them, I don't know about all. I don't know about Bloody Mary, but some of them have little bits of truth. They came from something kind of like true and stuff, which is kind of interesting. Like urban legends are a really interesting subject to study. But anyway, the second one is the hook. The killer with the hook for a hand who attacks a couple in their parked car. In that story, that one's always a classic.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
What? Oh my God. So not only have you not seen any movies, you haven't heard every urban legend ever known?
Every urban legend ever known.
You know the story. It starts with a couple goes on a romantic park and they're making out and stuff. And then the radio says an escaped killer from the mental institution with a hook for a hand is out. And don't question why the mental institution allowed him to keep that hook. But he's out and about. And then they hear a scraping on the side of the car. The girl gets scared, goes home, and he drops her off, kisses her goodnight. And then when he goes back to the car, there's a severed hook on his car knob.
No, I don't. I've never heard that day in my life.
I don't know. It's a good one.
Okay.
I just told you. So you've heard it. Anyway, using urban legends as the base for a horror movie isn't really anything new.
Right.
This is treaded ground, but Candyman does it in a way that feels fresh and its own character. While we're treading familiar ground with those two, and we're familiar with Bloody Mary, and now you're familiar with both.
Right.
It also doesn't feel like it's just a retelling of things, or if it's just a rehash, or it's copying.
Right.
Candyman feels very fresh.
I agree.
It's great, and it holds up. I'm surprised how much this movie held up for it being 92 and stuff.
It really did.
Yeah, it's
there wasn't
extremely
anything
relatable.
that was really like cliche 90s. Like not even their clothing was. To me, it was not. The only thing was the computer, but
yeah,
the
you
lack
can't
of
get
cell
away from
phones
and computer.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, but yeah, this movie is just so good. Anyway, now the idea for Candyman in Bernard Rose's mind was always a romantic figure. There's a joy to his seduction that he takes. In this movie. He's very seductive, and Candyman could talk me out of my pants. That's all I'm saying. Okay, he's romantic in an Edgar Allan Poe way. It's the romance of death,
Yes, it's that dance with death. That's what I was trying to say.
You ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Not today. It's too cold. Helen goes to talk to Bernadette, who is also interviewing someone about Candyman. Then Helen goes to a college class. Class lets out and the professor is flirting with a student. But we find out that this is Helen's husband, Trevor. She goes and talks to him and she's mad at him for talking about urban legends because her and Bernadette are trying to gather information for him about Candyman so he can talk about it in his lecture. But I think it's also part of I think they're in college too.
Yeah.
Like way further into college than what he's teaching, but they're doing it for their thesis papers too.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And by the way, we'll talk about Trevor in a minute, but talk about the main villain of the movie, really. Forget Candyman. Candyman's a wonderful human being compared to Trevor.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay.
I'll discuss it.
Okay.
Trevor's a dick. That's all you need.
Well,
to
yeah,
know.
I do agree that Trevor's a dick.
Oh, because he's using her.
Of course.
He's using her. So Helen is played wonderfully by Virginia Madsen, who, oh my God, never ages. She is amazing in this role. Now, this film had garnered a ton of excitement in casting offices. The script did. Everybody was reading the script, and it was, you wanted to be in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Bernard Rose had already made a name for himself in the UK, and this was his big break into American cinema. But the excitement with the screenplay, it came from it being so unique. It's such a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd both immediately tried to get parts in this film. Now, Madsen was originally supposed to play Bernadette, and Bernard Rose's wife was supposed to be Helen.
Oh.
But the decision to make Bernadette African American caused Madsen to lose the role.
Oh.
So she wasn't in this movie for a short time. However, Bernard Rose's wife, Alexandria Pig is her name, became pregnant right before shooting was about to begin. So Madsen was offered the role of Helen.
Nice.
And now rumor has it, if Madsen hadn't been able to accept the role, an unknown at the time actress would have, and that was Sandra Bullock.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I love Sandra Bullock, but she would have ruined this
Oh,
movie.
totally. Totally would have ruined it.
What? The Candyman's after me? What? Okay. All right. Not everything has to be quizzical.
So Helen's transcribing her records when the housekeeper comes in and tells her that she's heard of Candyman and that he lives at Cabrini Green. But her friend knows more about him. So she goes out in the hall, grabs her friend, and brings her in. And she tells Helen about a woman that was killed at Cabrini Green in her apartment by somebody with a hook.
Yeah.
Well, Candyman is what she says.
Yeah. Now, Helen is our main character and our focal point and stuff like that. But also, she's not completely good. And hang on. I'll explain. You're like, wait, what?
What are you talking about?
Helen, you'll notice Helen as a character is she's kind of and this is, again, opinion alert, everybody. I don't know if this is what Bernard Rose was going with, but it's kind of a criticism on the white savior character in film, and I'll explain that. Now, that's a trope where black characters in a movie are unable to advance or conquer a problem without the help of a white person.
Okay, yeah.
It happens time and time again in movies. By the end of the movie, everyone's like, "Oh, thank you, white person. Look at the good you've done." It's
the whole concept of what's that movie? Speaking of Sandra Bullock, what's that movie with Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
that football movie.
Yeah. I was about to say The Longest Yard, but that's the Burt Reynolds movie. Yeah, exactly. And whether that was true or not, the movie, it's like, oh, you better find yourself an old white lady to get out of the fucking mess you're in. Right. That's a white savior. That's classic. That's a great example. So hold that in your head when you think about Helen, because, and I'm not saying she's a white savior, Helen is a type of character. She's a play on that, but she's shown the opposite. She's transparent. Immediately, she is in this for her own advancement.
Oh, right.
Almost scoffing. And she even laughs after these stories these people tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're telling it to her, they're serious.
Oh, yeah.
There is some seriousness to them. It's not like they're sitting there sharing, oh, this and this happened. Isn't that funny? Right. Isn't that a funny story? No, it's like, no, I think this is fucking real. This is some real shit. And mostly the people who are serious about it, it comes from the African Americans in the film.
Right.
They're serious about Candyman. So to me, she's like this criticism on the white savior, as if we're seeing like the white savior role played out how it would be in real life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying every white person who helps African Americans is like this, but to the most part, they're doing it for their own benefit. In the end, you see this time and time again with YouTube influencers, where they'll get on there, oh, Black Lives Matter, and shit like that. But then, like a week later, you hear nothing.
Right.
Like they don't make a commentary at all. They just drop it
Mhm.
because it's not popular at the moment.
Right.
Because when it's popular, then they're getting the likes and the subscribes and the score points, you know.
Ugh, it's terrible.
That's and that's
Yeah.
a white savior.
Right.
You know. But Helen is shown as what really is going on, you know. So that's what I mean by she's not as great as she is, but she does have an arc, you know. She does learn at the end of the movie. Sadly, it comes at a price, but you know, she does start.
She
to learn.
progresses.
Yeah, she progresses.
Yeah.
Not everybody fucking does that. but yeah, you know, it's just an interesting thing, and I'll share a lot of these opinions here and there because I hate doing that too much. But with this movie, you have to because you can read a lot into this. But like, because I don't like putting words into the director's mouth because that might not have been their vision, but this is what I'm getting.
This is what you took from it. Yeah. What the ladies had told Helen makes her search for newspaper clippings. She then goes to Bernadette and shows her what she's found. What she's found out is the building that Helen lives in used to be a housing project. They had to move it to Cabrini Green because it was too close to the Gold Coast. The apartments connect through the bathroom mirror. All she had to do was pop her mirror off, and behind it is the other person's mirror, and you can just push it through.
Yeah.
And be in the other person's apartment.
And that's what I meant by that. That was a true story, you know.
Right.
Yeah, there is a funny story about a congressman who went to Cabrini Green. I believe it was Cabrini Green. It might have been another housing project, but she went there to try to like, it was like she was trying to prove that you could stay there and it wasn't such a dangerous place.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. And trying to like, I don't know, I guess paint a better picture of.
Right. I know what
housing
you're trying
projects tend to be the place the city forgot.
Right.
And I'll discuss what happens when you forget about a place like that.
Oh, yeah.
But she went there and she fortified the walls with metal and stuff around. And when she left, so people wouldn't bust in and get her.
But you can
She didn't
still
tell anybody that.
Okay.
But then when she
I was
left,
like-
gang members took over that area and used it as a place of operations.
Right.
So it's just like, it's so funny when rich white people walk into areas like this. They're just
right.
so fucking
Right.
put out.
So she's trying to explain to Bernadette that the woman that got killed in her apartment, and they say that she was killed by Candyman, the Candyman came in through that opening through the mirrors. So it's night now, and Helen is sleeping. She wakes up because oh no, I gotta start that over. So cut that part. Sorry.
Okay.
So as they're in the bathroom and they're talking about this, they decide they're not going to be chickens. They're not going to be pussies.
Right.
And then they're going to say Candyman 5 times.
Yeah. Here we go.
But of course, they stop at 4, like everybody does.
Uh-huh.
But then Helen, she finally says it. She says it the 5th time. And Bernadette does not.
No.
So it's night now, and Helen is sleeping, and she wakes up because she hears something, and she gets scared, but it's just Trevor.
Yeah.
And she's starting to freak out a little bit. So we can tell that from this scene, like, you can immediately tell that she's already freaked out about that urban legend.
Right. And here's the thing. Like, you have Helen and Bernadette probably to an extent. They don't believe in this legend.
Right.
It's all just fake and make-believe and fantasy storyland.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem with that is, and this factors heavily into the plot of this movie, and a lot of people I've seen who watch this casually have a hard time figuring out why is Candyman, besides the obvious, you know, she looks like, we learn his past in a little bit, but she looks like someone he loved long ago. Besides that, it's also because he tends to punish the people who don't believe in him.
Right.
You know, it's like a punishment for them.
He's definitely got a God complex.
Yeah, because if you believed in this story, you wouldn't say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, right? And
I'm going to go do it right the fuck now.
No, fuck, don't do that. I don't want Candyman up in here. Or maybe I do. I bet we could have a beer.
A beer?
I just really want to hang out with Tony Todd, I think.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that Tony Todd would not be the one that just shows up.
No. It would be, yeah. But maybe if I say
like,
Biggie 5 times in the mirror, Biggie Smalls will show up.
Biggie.
Did you ever see that? No, you never saw that South Park episode where they say
seen nothing.
They say Biggie Smalls 5 times in the mirror, and he shows up. He's like, "What the hell am I doing here?" But
a good neighbor, stay home. That's what it made me think.
What the fuck? But no. And in its base, that's how an urban legend stays alive.
Right.
You got to have some people buying into it to tell everybody.
Right.
Urban legends stay alive. It's the oldest form of storytelling. Urban legends are the one thing each society has. Each kind of
everybody.
just
say
everybody has their urban legends and stuff.
Right.
Every locale has an urban legend.
Oh,
to
yeah.
go along with it. It's just I don't know. It's just a form of storytelling that's really interesting. I'd have to fucking break down and do an episode on urban legends if we wanted to go further. But let's move on. So for those that don't know, Cabrini Green was a housing project in Chicago, and what started as a way to create low-income housing became a metonym for the problems associated with public housing in the United States. Now, at its peak, Cabrini Green was comprised of about 15,000 people, mostly living in these mid to high-rise apartment buildings, along with row houses. So what you see in this movie is when it's nearing its death, because Cabrini Green would get torn down later, and I think they tore it all down except for some of the row houses and stuff. And what is there now, I believe, is a lot of expensive luxury hotel or luxury apartments. And stuff.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about the problem with that maybe another time, maybe in this episode. I don't know, whatever comes to my brain. But most of these people lived in the high-rise apartment buildings along with the row houses. Now, a lot of people you'll hear blame the people living there and trying to survive as the cause of its downfall. You'll always hear this about any housing project you talk about. Oh, the people that live there are just violent. It just attracts violence and stuff. Things don't start out dead.
Right.
Things don't start out soured or bad. They become bad.
Right.
Now, we could craft a whole separate episode tackling the broken promises of public housing, but I'll try to sum it up the best I can. See, the problems began with the checkered past of the area already, which had been known as Little Hell at one point.
Oh, shit.
It was a breeding ground for Italian organized crime for the longest times. Many of the first residents at Cabrini Green were Italian, in fact, so not all African American. In fact, I believe at one point they had, because, America's racist, they had 75% white and the rest could be other nationalities. So
there's like a restriction?
Yeah, there was restrictions on a lot of things back in the day. But eventually it would mostly all be African Americans living there. Mm-hmm. Now, back to the story. Now, first off, these public housing units had been built on the cheap. Mistakes in their construction would prove hazardous for residents to come. I mean, this place was built like Triscuits. It was falling the fuck apart by the end of its life. But it turned what should have been comfortable, affordable housings into a slum where hardly anything fucking worked. And the city didn't give a fucking shit because fuck the poor and African American communities of Chicago.
Of course.
It's the blunt truth. Then, of course, the factories nearby started closing down. Now, that's a problem because many of the people who lived in Cabrini Green worked there. That was their income. They worked at the factory. They could walk home. Mm-hmm. It was all nearby. Now, when the factories started fucking closing down and shutting up shop, you had unemployment. See, the factories closed due to big businesses bringing in more professional white-collar jobs. These jobs require you to have years of experience before you even have experience. Right. So it highly benefited the It highly benefited the wealthy neighboring areas like Lincoln Park and Gold Coast, but effectively laid a death blow on Cabrini Green's promise of helping start. Now, all this was post-war period, and Chicago didn't have the resources to take care of the place. So immediately you had a lack of protection. Police patrols stopped combing the areas. And honestly, police don't help that much to begin with when you're dealing with African-American communities. Lawn upkeep was too much. So to save money, the city paved over the green spaces.
What the fuck?
Yeah, there used to be nice lawns and like parks and stuff over there, but they paved over it.
I hate.
So immediately when they do that, you're looking at living in a place that's more like a prison than a home.
Right.
And a ghetto was born. So what comes with extreme poverty? Crime.
Right.
The sad fact is crime, like what would plague Cabrini Greens and other inner city projects, spring from a sense of disparity and the need to survive. I mean, what do you do when you can't get a job? Nobody will hire you. You can't afford a good home. You can't get any government assistance, and you can't get ahead because mainly you're black in Chicago is the main problem.
Right.
I mean, you have to eat, and selling drugs and stealing is a pretty good choice. You know, it's easy. You can get into it. You don't need any experience. With drugs and crack, crime ramps up, and then all is lost. So no, housing projects that turn into literal hell on earth and the most dangerous areas are not the fault of their tenants. It's the fault of the failed promise and systematic racism of a country that sets you up to fail as soon as you're born anything other than white.
That was deep.
I try.
Dang. That was.
I just unloaded a bunch of fucking truth on you assholes.
Oh my god. That was so deep.
Fight the power.
Oh my god. Anyway.
No, for real though, like everything I said, I do mean by heart. And so like before you start accusing people that live in these low income areas as being the problem, maybe look at your city. You know, maybe look at the outside powers.
So what you're saying is, okay, what I'm picking up from this, okay?
Eat the rich?
I hate you.
Yes, actually. And I think if you slow roast them, right, with a nice bit of barbecue sauce, because they got a lot of fat on them, the rich, you know? A lot of fat. You could get a Bezos who's like a real stringy rich person. You might want to slow cook him in some water or with like some seasonings and some baked potatoes and stuff, you know, something nice, like a nice stew. That's where you'd want to put your Bezos. But like with people like let me just pick someone out of the hat. Dick LaOrange, Donald Trump. I think you'd want to slow roast him over a fire, you know, burn that fat down, really get that meat flavored. I'm getting hungry. All right, anyway.
And I'm really pissed off at you for saying what I wanted to fucking say.
All right, back to the movie.
Okay. Helen and Bernadette are going to drive to Cabrini Green, and they're freaked out about it. But not chickens, Helen says. They say that the gangs have a hold on the whole neighborhood, and they want to prove that this isn't just an urban legend. They go upstairs and see the apartment where the woman was killed, and the layout is exactly the same as Helen's apartment. So Helen goes into the other apartment through the mirror thing and finds a mural of Candyman and a pile of candy with razor blades in it. And also, she's taking pictures the whole time.
Right. Now, we'll discuss a bit later, but like, you know, you see this candy and stuff, and it's like given like an offering, and then the razor blades. It's really weird. But if you kind of read between the lines, you'll realize the people of Cabrini Greens are almost like his congregation. And he even says that.
Right.
You know, and my theory is in order to keep his story alive, keep him happy, they have to keep telling the story and appeasing him.
Right.
So, you know, it's just a little opinion about
I'm
that.
pretty sure he like blatantly says that.
Yeah, but some people don't. The people I've talked to that hate this movie obviously didn't sit there and watch it or listen to it.
Bitches.
So, you know, maybe we can convert some people into Candyman lovers here. Helen's apartment, we find out, is a gentrified part of Cabrini Green. you know. And this is another crime that plagued housing projects, gentrification. See, instead of helping these communities and building them up, you know, fixing them, you know, investing some money into fixing the problem for the low income. No, we just fucking shoo these motherfuckers away to another part of the city, force them out, force them into homelessness, ramping up crime even worse.
Right.
Hey, then we fix up these places. Then we make them nice. And then start charging an ass ton of money, attracting rich people to live there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the basis of gentrification.
Okay.
Now, Cassie Lemons plays Bernadette here. And she also interestingly played best friend to Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs prior to this movie.
I knew I've seen her somewhere before.
Bernadette is an interesting character too. You know, at times she pushes Helen to keep moving forward, but also at other times it's almost as if she's asking her, "Hey, you stop this." Yeah,
she's like, I think she's trying to say like, "Hey, you're being a crazy white lady," without saying you're being a crazy.
Yeah, like you need to start taking some stuff seriously, because we see Helen later when right now she's explaining how her apartment used to be Cabrini Green's, and it's like she's excited.
Right.
She looks at this until later in the movie. She looks at all this like a child looks at a toy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not serious to her. It's a plaything, and she's interested. Great. But she's not interested in the problem.
Right.
She's not interested in helping. So what good is she? That's what I mean by Helen isn't exactly a great character.
Right.
You know, she isn't exactly a great person, which you don't want her to be, you know. You want her to have these flaws. And that's what I love about this movie. Everyone in this movie is flawed.
So as they're leaving, they run into a woman named Anne Marie. And she's wanting to know what the hell they're doing there.
Uh-huh.
And she tells them that she tells them about the woman that was killed. And she says that she heard the women screaming and she called 911, but no one came for help. She called twice and no one came for help. And she said they're never going to catch the Candyman. Right.
Which I like them kind of tackling that, you know, a little bit, where like, because that's important for a scene that's coming up, where she called 911 because someone was being murdered, but nobody came to fucking help. You know, the police never fucking showed up.
Right.
So, you know, keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It'll come up. I was like, well, what are you fucking talking about? Now I get it. Okay.
Why are you mentioning it?
Right? Helen, Bernadette, and Trevor are at dinner with, I assume this is like a professor at the college or whatever.
Yeah, all these people are friends.
Purcell.
Yeah.
And he said that they should go talk to him about their research. And Helen says that they're going to bury him. And he talks about the legend of Candyman. And he talks about how Candyman fell in love with a woman he was going to paint because he was an artist. He was going to paint a portrait of her. And he ended up getting her pregnant, which was a big deal because he's a black man and she's a white woman. And her father paid people to chase him down. They sawed off his hand, and they also stole this honeycomb. Oh, not stole it. They grabbed this honeycomb, rubbed it all over his naked body, and let the bees kill him, and burned his body and scattered his ashes at Cabrini Green.
Yes, and so here we learn the legend of Candyman, and it's another shot. It's another great shot where they're focused on her eyes and stuff as she's hearing this,
right?
Being told to her.
But I wanted to go into a little bit more detail because I didn't write it down.
Okay.
But the reason that Helen says she's going to bury Purcell is because he's the only one that's done like extensive research on this urban legend, and she wants to go beyond that. She wants to be way better than he is, and prove that it's not an urban legend, that Candyman's real, and just be the best. Is how she's acting.
And you see this play out here. These two white people are just basically using this African American story and stuff of tragedy and shit like that to just further their careers.
Bitches.
You know, it's another allegory. This movie doesn't beat you over the head. It kind of gives you these things bit by bit, you know, just bits and pieces of things to think about, you know, is what I love about this movie. Now, Bernard Rose the story goes, he actually hypnotized Virginia Madison a few times to get this look out of her. There's a few times, especially the scenes with Candyman, where she is just mesmerized and stuff. And that's real. He would have a hypnotist hypnotize her beforehand, and it gave her a trigger word. And whether you buy into hypnotism or not, this is the story. But he would give her the trigger word, and it would send her into that trance. While she got really uncomfortable with that over time, and so they stopped doing it through the shoots. But
that's a little creepy.
I know, right? But yeah, the story is great because it helps you realize that Candyman brings to the table. It brings two things to the table. In Candyman himself, he represents a dark history in American history, slavery, and the horrors that we try so hard to bury. You know, those are coming to the surface.
Right. That's
what the legend really represents. It also points out our tendency to turn African-American males, for the most part, into these crime-ridden evil boogeymen who effectively, we strip them of their humanity.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time
horrible.
In the news as a black African male. You never hear like any distinguishing features. It's just black African male when anything goes wrong. So, we strip them of this humanity and just put them as the boogeyman, like a flesh and blood boogeyman. And it's fucking wild.
It's fucked up. So Helen's back at Cabrini again, and she's taking pictures and looking for Anne-Marie. A boy named Jake is outside of Anne-Marie's door and that says that she isn't home. So Helen starts asking him questions about what he knows about the woman that died. And he says he can't say anything because the Candyman will get him. She asks where Candyman is, and he takes her to this outside bathroom area, and he tells her that a boy got killed in there by Candyman, and she decides she's going to be tough and go into the bathroom. And it's covered in shit, which is totally disgusting. And but she finds a toilet full of bees.
Yes, okay, the bees, man. My God, the bees.
So many fucking bees.
Not the bees. If you've ever seen the Nick Cage Wicker Man, you'll know what I'm talking about. These were real bees in this movie, and they got them to chill in the toilet by using a scent from a queen, and they spread it in this toilet and had them go in there. A lot, if not all, of this movie is achieved by practical effects, which are done almost operatic. The practical effects in this movie are something.
Right.
They're really cool. In fact, this whole movie has, I don't know if you picked up on this because I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it has the feel of Phantom of the Opera.
I agree.
Yeah, and even Tony Todd, when he was accepting this role, like that's what he was looking for. He was like, I was looking for my own Phantom of the Opera role.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
he fucking does it.
Oh, yeah. Now that you say that, I'm like, yeah. He
does it to perfection in this. If you're familiar with that piece, it's horror, but artfully done. Phantom of the Opera is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Martin Bresson does the effects here. It's interesting to mention because, like I said, they're great. I mean, we have some really realistic looking dead bodies and stuff in a little while, and some gruesome violence, especially if you watch that unrated cut.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the boy she's talking here, Dewan Guy, he plays Jake. He and Madsen actually bonded pretty good during this movie. And in fact, during the outside scenes between takes, Madsen would come over to him and keep him warm with her jacket and stuff. Because they shot this in the freezing Chicago winter, which we think it's cold here.
Right.
Dewan Guy actually couldn't watch this movie at its premiere.
Because he was too young.
Yes. Well, no, he could watch. I mean, I guess they allowed him, but he refused to watch it because it was too scary.
Oh.
He only wanted to see his few scenes and then stepped out for most of the movie.
Oh.
And who could blame him? I don't know how you feel, but this movie still is terrifying. I don't know what it is about the movie because it's not. I mean, Candyman's scary. Yeah, somebody coming out of the mirror and getting you when you say his name 5 times. Yeah, that's scary. But I think it's, I don't know, it's the whole piece, because it's like a gothic terror. It's not scary as in, oh, God. It's more get under your skin creepy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't feel that.
I don't
But-
know. This movie terrified me when I was a little
You know
kid.
what? You know what though? The bees freaked me out. Like
Does the bees freak
I'm
you out?
not gonna lie about that. The bees really freaked me out. So outside of the bathroom, a man comes up behind Jake and he says, "Candyman." The man goes into the bathroom and he has a hook, not a hook for a hand. He's got his hand
he's got
and he's holding
got
a hook.
Yeah.
Fucking knockoff Candyman's. Anyway, and then more men come into the bathroom and they knock her out with the hook.
Now this is where I told you to put a pin. You
Yeah.
know, in that earlier thing when they were talking about the 911 call, you know, and nobody came out and stuff like that.
So then it cuts to a scene where men are in a lineup and Helen is supposed to be picking out who hit her.
Yeah.
And she sees the dude, tells the detective which one it is. He says that she's lucky to be alive. And he says that this guy also killed the woman in her apartment and then the boy in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they've been waiting to catch him, but nobody has reported anything, even though they tried to report.
Which that leaves it kind of vague, you know, because there's no witnesses to those murders that we know of, right?
Yes, but they did say that both of them had been killed with hooks.
But why didn't he kill Helen then? You see what I mean? Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah, I get
they
that.
leave it very vague, and that's another thing. Like, okay, we're just generalizing this guy now. You know what I mean? The cops are just like, okay, well, this is obviously our guy. Let's not
Right.
investigate this any further.
Well, they didn't even go out when they called 911,
I know.
except for when white people do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
See,
that
now
was
you're
your
getting
point.
it. Yeah, now you're getting it.
Yeah. So it's some time later.
Uh-huh.
I think like a month later or some shit like that. Trevor comes home and Helen is looking much better, like her eyes looking much better.
Yeah.
And she made him dinner, and you can tell that something's up with him.
Right.
The only reason I mentioned this scene is because I think if he would have done better as a husband, none of this shit would have happened.
Yeah.
I
And
know
even
that sounds
Candyman says
weird,
that. You know, he even
but-
tells her at one point, you know, everyone's going to abandon you and stuff like
Right.
that. Because he's inviting her to become part of his legend, you know, join him in death.
A cult?
Be mine. No, but by the way, I swear to God, Xander Berkeley has been playing assholes for as long as I can remember. Xander Berkeley playing Trevor here. His swan song to assholes, though, came in the character from The Walking Dead years later, Gregory. You remember that sniveling piece
Oh.
of shit in that show? He's so good at playing characters like that.
Oh, yeah.
Another interesting commentary here, though, comes in how Helen is treated by the police. You know, compare that to how the police treat everything else. She gets assaulted, not murdered, but assaulted. And it's bad. You know, I'm not saying it wasn't a big deal,
Right.
but she's immediately picking a guy out of a lineup, like in the next scene, like immediately.
Right.
So you know it was quick. Whereas we see newspaper after newspaper clippings of these murders, and I think they say something about like 21 of them that have been happening in the African American community, and they just seem to be brushed aside. I mean, we see nobody investigating anything in this movie.
Assholes.
Yeah.
So Helen's back at the school now, and she's talking to Bernadette, and she is most freaked out about how these murders went unsolved, but because she's a white woman, they finally looked into it. Bernadette recovered some of Helen's pictures from Cabrini Green, and she says that they're going to talk to a publisher about writing a book. And as Helen's walking to her car, Candyman's there whispering to her, and she's freaking out. But he has her in this like trance, and he says, "Come with me."
Yeah. And I love it. I don't know. The scenes between Helen and Candyman in this movie it's hard to really pinpoint. It's like that Fan of the Opera thing, though, you know. There's a seductive quality to Candyman, like we said, and it really comes out when he's with Helen, and it's just like there's a comfort to him. And that I don't know if that's even more horrifying as a character.
I don't understand this.
Okay.
I did not have this kind of reading on this.
I
have
realize,
a
and that's
completely
okay.
different,
And that's good. That's good. There
viewpoint
would be
on
no
this.
good conversation if we
Right.
didn't have an opposite reading.
Because you are saying this like this is like an intimate relationship that they're having, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't feel like Helen is reciprocating this intimacy.
Not entirely. No, she isn't. I'm just saying, like, there is a romantic quality to this character.
But not in a positive way in my mind.
No, I suppose not. You're right.
So would it still then be romance?
Yes. I mean,
I
in
guess
a way,
so.
even though she's not reciprocating, she's also not. There's times where she's not really saying no. And I'm
But
not,
I also
I'm
feel
not
like-
saying that's okay, because we're about to get into a rape thing. But like,
No, that's not what I mean. Like,
okay.
but I guess that is kind of what I mean. I feel like he's controlling her mind,
Well, if you,
and so she's kind of doing it against.
in a way, yeah, you're right. But also, he's also the extent he goes to get her to agree with him is more manipulating the outside of her. He's not really forcing her into anything.
No, I understand that. It's just her mind. That's what I mean.
Right.
Is
And
like
that's
he's
what
not-
I mean, the seductive part. Like, he's using his seduction and stuff in that seduction of death. The curiosity.
Okay, I see
has,
what you mean. Yeah,
because
yeah,
she keeps going even after he comes to her for the first time.
right.
I mean, she could have possibly done something, God help, done something
Right.
at some point. But when she does decide, oh no, it's too late, she's already too far into this.
Right.
And that's what I mean. I believe that Helen is kind of falling in love with him. I mean, think about this. Yeah, he's a monster, but also at the same time, look at who her husband is.
Oh,
You
no,
got
I
fucking
agree.
Trevor fucking everything with blonde hair. And so then you have this specter of death that you're already in love with. You're already in love with the story and the fact of urban legends. She loves them.
Right.
I mean, she doesn't treat them seriously yet, but like she does love them.
Right.
So then you have that, and you also have an urban legend come to life telling you these things,
Oh,
Yeah, see what I mean? It's a powerful seduction
right.
that he has over her.
I see.
And like I said, he's still a villain. I mean,
Right.
he's still a murderer and a killer and stuff like that. But at the same time, that's what I mean by the love story. In its heart, it is a love story, because would he have pursued it like this if she didn't? And that's left vague too, because you can read into it. Maybe she's the reincarnation of the woman he loved that
Right.
got him killed. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's related. It's left vague,
Right.
but she does look like her.
Right.
He sees her as this woman he loved long ago. So that's what I mean by it's kind of a tragic love story.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's
I
also
agree.
constantly chasing that person. And so like this ghost or specter or whatever you want to call him, he might have just killed Helen if she didn't remind him of that.
Right.
And so he sees her, and this is all opinion, everybody. But he sees her as the former love and stuff like that. And he wants to make her become legend with him so she can join him in death.
Oh, yes. He's very adamant
Yes,
about that.
have her join him,
Yeah.
so they can be together forever like he wanted in a past life. So that's what I mean, like, by the tragic love story of all this and how he's such a complicated, here's the deal with Candyman. He is such a complicated horror villain. Like, you're not going to get this kind of layers with Freddy.
Right.
Freddy's a one-dimensional character. He's just going to kill people in their dreams
Right.
for the longest time. Jason, the most one-dimensional horror icon ever known to man, killing teenagers having sex at his lake. It's very cut and dry. There's no layers. You don't have Jason seeing somebody and remembering a lost love, and then you get into like, oh, well, maybe he's Candyman you could talk about for days.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love about this horror icon. That's why I think he deserves his pedestal up there with all the big name ones and stuff like that, you know?
I understand. He's way more complex.
Yes. Now, what's also really cool about Candyman himself, he doesn't show up until around the 44-minute mark of this movie.
Oh, dang.
But Bernard Rose does such a good job at building this legend up and giving us glimpses to the point that when we see him, we feel like we know him.
Right.
You know, we
right.
feel like we've seen him this entire movie so far. And that tugs at the pit of your stomach, you know, the fear of this character. There are no sounds in his footsteps, too, if you notice. I love that.
Ugh.
I love that little thing where it creates that mythical kind of character of him. Now, of course, Tony Todd portrays Candyman and breathes life into this character. In fact, Todd is credited for helping shape the background story and parts of the look. That coat that he wears, it was kind of a worry at first because Bernard Rose wanted to stay away from exploitation.
Oh, okay.
Candyman is not an exploitation movie, but the coat kind of worried people because it does remind you of black exploitation movies and stuff like that. You know, the old 70s coat and stuff like that. But I think I don't know. I don't get that feeling.
Right.
Like, and it's from Tony Todd's acting. Like, if you see this movie for anything else, see it for Tony Todd. Like, because he does a fantastic job.
Right.
Now, Bernard Rose had even met with the NAACP because the producers were worried about portraying a black man as a monster. You know, I mean, it's a little worry. It's still kind of troubling. But at the meeting, the heads of the NAACP read the script and they said, you know, this is all just good horror fun.
Right.
And their argument was, why can't a black man portray a Freddy Krueger? You know, why can't a black man portray a Jason type horror icon? And they were right. I mean, really, before this and even after, there have been no black horror icons.
Right.
Since then. Not at least on the level as Tony Todd's Candyman. I think it's, and that's a shame. I think we get so caught up with wanting to do the right thing sometimes that we actually further destroy equality. But Rose does give Candyman a heart in its deepest reaches. Like we've been talking about, it's a love story. I mean, Candyman is a tragic character as well as someone who died because of love. Tony Todd had a hard, he didn't have a hard time, but he had to act as a boogeyman and something ageless while also not overacting.
Right.
Which is very hard. It's extremely tricky to do. The other horror icon like this on this level would be Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger Talks.
Yeah.
And you see, well, you haven't seen the sequels yet, but you see how those sequels progress. It starts becoming more and more slapstick and comedic and stuff like that. So Candyman had to come out of the gate not being that. Because here we go. We got a horror icon that talks, a murderer that talks. And there's a lot of problems that could go along with that. One-liners, for instance. Candyman doesn't really have one-liners. Now, Bob Keane, who worked with Todd on the look of Candyman, first had him wear this machine-controlled arm for the hook. But that restricted Todd's movement and was way too cumbersome. And I'm really glad they didn't do that because I don't know, the more realistic, the better, you know, even though that hook is like jammed into his arm. But I think that also adds to his, Spectre-like character. You know?
Right.
It makes him more mythical. The funniest thing that could happen, and I'm so glad it didn't because Tony Todd is a joy to watch, but Eddie Murphy was considered for this role.
Oh my gosh, no. Obvious, no.
And think about this. Eddie Murphy is 5'9".
Yeah, no.
Oh, and honestly, you know, they say it's because of his stature and, you know, like that. But it was 1991 when they shot this. And let's be honest, they probably couldn't afford Eddie Murphy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Eddie
Was
Murphy
he doing
in the early 90s?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. No, that's too big of a star. But he was passed on. And I think that's a great idea because Tony Todd's 6'5". Man, and he is imposing in this fucking movie.
Oh, yeah. So the scene jumps to Helen waking up on the in a pool of blood on the bathroom floor. She hears Anne-Marie screaming, opens the door, and the dog's head is cut off. She goes in and sees Anne-Marie's baby Anthony is gone.
Yeah.
And Anne-Marie is freaking out. She picks up this meat cleaver, and Anne-Marie attacks her, so she has to end up hitting her with the cleaver because Anne-Marie is bashing Helen's head into the ground.
Yeah. It is. Wow.
And as soon as she hits her with the cleaver, the police show up.
And I like how they bring her out of this unconsciousness just into it, and they put us into it. So we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we're like,
whoa, that was a whiplash.
Yes.
Like, I love how this movie does that. You know, you're along with you're along for the ride, whether you like it or not.
Right.
You know, in doing this show, we always make sure that what I write and what I say on this thing are true. You know, most of my facts come straight from my brain and stuff I've seen on countless commentaries and books and interviews I've watched. But I always make sure these things that I write and say are true on the show. You know, I got to fact check these things. So to do that, I usually sit down with the DVD or Blu-ray or some official interviews, but I also comb IMDb and Wikipedia and a few fan pages. You know, those last three are actually very much a last effort, just to, you know, double check things.
Right.
And IMDb especially. So everything on IMDb is user generated, as you know, including your trivia section where, you know, you can find facts about the movies, which I always tell people, take anything you read in there with a grain of salt, because it's all user generated, and do your own research.
Right.
Hell, do your own research with the shit I say. But on the trivia section of this, someone wrote that the dog head in this scene was fake and not real.
Okay.
And that's the kind of no shit Sherlock trivia you get in the user generated trivia boards. Like, I believe for the haunting of the haunting, the Liam Neeson version, they were like, in this movie, Owen Wilson plays a character named Luke, and his brother's name is Luke Wilson. It's like, cool, motherfucker. I don't. That's awesome. No fucking shit.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same shit. Have you ever been to a theater and you get those fucking movie trivia? It's like popcorn trivia.
Yeah.
It's like the stupidest fucking information.
Right.
Like, I don't know, fucking like
This cat.
Robert De Niro has a cat named Mittens or something. It's like, cool.
I think maybe.
Okay, time to start the movie. You're welcome. Okay.
You
Okay,
needed to
that's
know this
enough of that.
information.
Like, can you just do previews like the good old days?
Right.
Just an ass ton of previews, please.
Oh, that's so funny. So now Helen's at the police station and having to take off all of her bloody clothes. She gets cleaned and she gets to talk to the detective that she was talking to before. And she's trying to explain what happened, but she gets arrested.
Yeah.
So they ask her where the baby is, and she says she doesn't know. And she tried to call Trevor for her one phone call, but he isn't home, so he doesn't answer. But she leaves a voicemail. Back in the day of...
Man, you remember voicemail?
I don't... Did we
machines?
call that? Did we call it voicemail back then?
I don't think so. I think you're just going with today's term. I think we called it just messages. Leave a message.
Yes.
Or leave a message on the machine. You remember the
Yes.
beep? I remember we used to have one of these old ass message machines that like had the cassette tapes.
Yep.
That you'd have to flip and shit. Make sure you flip the tape so we get the messages.
Right.
And they were never anything interesting. Like, hey, I've been arrested. Come bail me out. It's always like, your car insurance is due.
Right.
Bill collectors and fucking.
I wonder if back then they had. If they had. We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
No, they did. This has been going on since the dawn of man, I think. I think back in these fucking like extended warranty shit. This happened back. I'm very sure this probably happened in ancient Egypt. Like they're fucking building the pyramid, and a fucking messenger bird flies over and drops a script, and someone opens it and said, "We've been trying to get you about your car insurance."
No, it's your car warranty.
Oh, car warranty. I'm sorry.
They're like, this is our second attempt. And I'm like, this has been your second attempt for 6 years now. Calm the fuck down.
I don't even have a car that would have a warranty.
Right. I don't even own a car. Like legally in my name, I don't have a car in my name.
But that warranty is about to expire. I think this movie as a whole really does represent a deep problem we have in this country, you know, relating to this scene where the tables have turned on Helen and stuff like that. America is the con man of the world, man. It really fucking is. And I say this because we were watching the Cecil Hotel documentary, which really showed me what people perceive America to be as some kind of fantastic wonderland.
Right.
Because these British, what was it, backpackers or something, just British travelers were staying at the Cecil Hotel.
Right.
And they were like, and the water just tasted disgusting and it came out brown and I brushed my teeth and drank it. And you're like, whoa. Whoa, man, what are you doing drinking the water when it's brown?
Right.
And I was even like, are these people fucking stupid? And you
Right.
brought up the point. You're like, no, they probably come here thinking America's such a wonderful place and stuff, and that shit can't happen.
No, so and I didn't realize this until all the Trump stuff, which is really weird. But I saw this TikTok, and it was a person over in the UK, and they were talking about how in the UK, or at least in her family, America is painted as this picture like Disneyland. And what has happened now is, well, with all the Trump stuff, it's like he ruined Disneyland for them.
And I'll tell you this, I'm not defending anything, but the best thing Trump did for this country is wake up some people. You know,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of people, now the genuine people, you know, there's
Right.
half this fucking country is full of fucking assholes. I'm sorry, world. I
Right.
don't know what to say. But like, I've seen some people really wake up to what America really is.
Right.
You know,
And that's what
really start researching. And I'm very
Yeah.
proud of this generation that's coming up, whether they think me not wanting to wear tight pants is a sin or whatever, or however I wear my ponytail, however Gen Z wants to talk. I am proud that most of them are learning this history and they are learning the sins
Right.
of the past.
Right.
And maybe, just fucking maybe, this country won't go down the fucking shithole in the next generation. Yeah.
I don't fucking know, man. But yeah, it's opened other countries' eyes of America is shit.
Yeah.
Like complete shit. And it's Trump, and I want to say it's TikTok. And I know that sounds really weird.
No, I don't blame you.
I know that sounds really weird, but a lot of people are on TikTok now, and a lot of people are complaining because, you know, you have your Facebook people, and you don't really listen to them people. You have your Twitter trolls, but they're too busy bitching about their own fandoms and shit like that, and following cults and shit.
Right.
But with TikTok, you have 60 seconds right in front of you to listen to people complain about America. And so they're like, oh, fuck, there's shit actually going on over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And granted, you know, yes, we still do have a lot of freedoms available to us.
right.
One of the freedoms not to wear a mask and kill everybody, apparently. But anyway,
Oh, my God.
we are still, there's still a good country here. You know,
Right.
we still do have those freedoms. And I'd rather be living here than anywhere else, honestly.
I don't know. Sweden was sounding really cool today.
Oh, yeah. You just leave Sweden out of the conversation. I didn't mean them. I'd rather live in New Zealand, but you know. But you know, I at the basis of it, I know I sound like a soured up asshole from from the millennials, but I do love this country still. I just know it can change, and that's the problem. And that's the problem America has faced, is that these people that are dying off don't want it to change.
Right.
They don't want that to change. And so what we're seeing now, and this is my opinion, what we're seeing now is the death toll of that.
Mhm.
Is the final stages of these things just dying off. And I mean, what happens when some people die? They thrash to stay alive.
Right.
You know, it's like a fish popped out of water. It's fucking fighting its ass off trying to survive. So what I'm hoping happens is it finally fucking dies and we can move on and make this country even better.
Right. And a lot of it to me, just because I'm finally getting into this, like
Yes.
2020 has opened my eyes. And a lot of it is that the Senate or the government in general, not just the Senate, but like the government in general is old. And they're old people and they're set in their ways of how America should be. And now all these young people are coming in and saying, no, the fuck, it doesn't need to be that way. We can change. We can make things better. And people are just afraid of change. And so they're like, no, our way's better because they're scared.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, that's no joke.
They're fucking scared of the change.
Well, you see these racists and stuff like that, and I know I'm using that as a broad term, but yeah, most of them are racist. But you see these people, you know, just freak the fuck out that black people might be getting some power or might be
Right.
getting ahead. That's what the basis is of. Your great Aunt Norma or whatever who's fucking complaining about the N-words and why can't I say that? Or why is everybody being so fucking uppity? You know, Aunt Norma bringing the hate down at the fucking dinner table. She's scared.
Right.
They're fucking freaked out, man. Like it's like we got an angry dog cornered.
Right.
And you got and honestly, and I'm not calling violence out on anybody. Hang on, before I use this little simile or whatever metaphor, I'm not calling violence out, but like you got to make a decision when you get this dog in the corner. Are you gonna let it eat you, or are you gonna put a bullet in its head?
Right.
Like,
oh, we're not killing people.
no, we're not saying kill people, but,
Right.
but racism does need to be stamped out.
Right. And I think that people should be called out for being racist. And if we say anything racist, we're not meaning it that way, but call me out on it. Like,
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird. I'll apologize for it, but I'm not using any racist terms. Like, we're doing this podcast tonight, and I don't know if African American is a way, like, is the appropriate term. I don't know.
Yeah. If you guys hear something that offends you or something, let us know and we'll change. I mean, shit.
Right, we're learning.
Yeah, we won't fight you on that.
We're willing to learn and accepting everything because we want everybody to feel included, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, because in the end, like, I know this has turned into Lee
I'm
Evans.
sorry.
This has turned into America Talk with Lee and Brittany. But in the end, like, that's how we do change, and that's how we move forward as a country. Is we face those pasts, we face the horrors, and we face the fact that America was built on blood.
Right.
You know, we face all those facts and we move forward. You know, do we want to keep waving a flag and shit and saying words and
right?
Speaking of the N-word. I know this is probably not the conversation y'all want to hear from us, but if you're sitting there right now and you're one of our listeners, you might be one of our listeners, and thanks for listening. But if you're sitting there and you're mad because you can't say that word, you need to ask yourself why you want to say it so bad.
Right. Why would you need to say it so bad?
Why do you need to say it so bad? There are millions of words you can use.
Right.
In one cup, there's 30 words. Like in my cup of coffee right here, there's 30 words that could describe this cup of coffee.
Right.
But you're hung up on one that a group of people, a race of people have asked you not to use.
Right.
Because of its painful past. And you can't get over that. And you need to ask yourself why. But back to Candyman.
So sorry. So we see a short little clip here. Baby Anthony, he's alive and he's with Candyman. By the way, is Candyman feeding this baby? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, are you feeding it? You got some formula in there or some shit? You got some breast milk? Anyway. That's what I was thinking. I was like,
I think it's just like a pacifier situation. I don't think Candyman has breast milk in his fingers.
But like, how long? Because there's no like time span. So like, how long does he have the baby? So he's got to feed the baby at some point.
You got to be careful with these urban legends, man. You'll get this started. Candyman will all of a sudden have breasts.
And feeding just babies that he steals.
If you say Candyman 5 times, he pops into your room and feeds your baby with his boobs. Wait, what?
Okay, anyway. So Trevor finally...
I just pictured Candyman coming out of the mirror with a set of honkers.
Just a set of honkers.
Be mine. Whoa.
No, thank you.
You have really nice breasts, man. I can't stop looking. I'm sorry.
Can I touch them? So Trevor finally comes and bails Helen out of jail. And there are a ton of reporters and people waiting for them to leave. They meet with a lawyer, and he wants to know more details, obviously. And she says, I blacked out and just woke up there.
Yeah.
Like covered in blood, because that's what we saw, you know.
Uh-huh.
And back at home, they're back at home now, and Helen's taking a bath. She asked Trevor where he was when she called, and he said, I was just asleep.
I was just sleeping real heavy.
Yeah.
Not between a co-ed's pussy lips. But
I was like, wait, what?
I wasn't. No. Fucking Trevor, dude.
Right? So he's like, we're going to get through this. He's being really motivational.
Uh-huh.
But then he just fucking leaves to go get some paperwork.
I'll have the oven on.
He's going to go get some paperwork from the school, whatever. So Helen starts going through her pictures, and she finds one where she can see someone behind her in the mirror, Candyman.
Yeah, which is a great scene. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Could a projector do this back then? Because when you're talking about going through the picture, she's using this projector, old school slides, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Could a projector do that where you could like zoom in and scroll up on the picture?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know because I never had an experience with a projector.
The only experience I ever had with the projector was like one of my relatives, and it was the stereotypical, let me show you my slides from my vacation. It's
right.
Like, oh, goody. Now we get to see the biggest ball of twine.
Cool.
That's the only experience. We never owned one because, I mean,
why? Like,
yeah, well, we paid the $10 to get our pictures developed
right.
out of the little handy save cameras.
We didn't need to project them onto the wall.
We weren't fancy. We didn't have, your fancy projector.
She goes to her bathroom. She's looking in the mirror. And then all of a sudden, this arm jams through the mirror, and she tries to run, but Candyman corners her. And he says that he has the baby and that he has to kill her because now his congregation doesn't believe in him because of her.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, you guys that didn't understand this movie, he's in all of Tony Todd's lines, he expels it all out for you.
Right. He's like, he basically is saying, I am the leader of my people.
Yeah.
You are telling these people that I'm not real. So now I have to kill you.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I meant by, yeah.
He's like, I want my followers. I want my
because
people.
it keeps him alive. Like,
right.
He's a legend. And to keep the legend alive, he needs people to believe in him.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like
says that over and
evil
over
Tinkerbell almost. Now, this scene where Tony Todd, as the Candyman, punches through the medicine cabinet, that was done without Virginia Madsen knowing.
Oh, no.
See, they had her stand in front of this mirror and stuff, and and she thought that this was just going to be the scene. It was going to cut, and that was the shot.
Right.
Tony Todd didn't really want to do this at first because he's a giant teddy bear and he's a joyful human being and thought it was a bit mean, but ended up going through with it. So the shot where she turns and runs in terror after his hook flies through the mirror, that's genuine fright.
I would be pretty scared too.
And you can tell because there's a cut to where she goes into the hallway, right?
Uh-huh.
And before that cut, when she runs out of the bathroom, she had run off set. She got so fucking scared.
Oh, I would too.
I imagine working on a horror movie, because I've never done this, but working on a horror movie, I wonder if your fears are running around. You know, because you're playing with fear all day.
Oh, yeah.
You're playing with stuff that scares people. And I wonder if everyone is kind of tense. Like if it's easier to spook people on set.
Oh, maybe so.
Like I could imagine popping out from behind a corner and yelling at somebody. That's funny, but I feel like it would be serious. Man, why'd you fucking do that?
I'm on edge, man. So as Candyman has Helen in this trance, Bernadette shows up to see her.
Uh-huh.
But of course, Helen doesn't answer the door. Helen's trying to yell at her to go away.
Yeah.
But Candyman's kind of like stabbed her in the neck or cut her, and she just can't move. She's like in this trance.
Yeah.
But Bernadette just goes inside.
Oh, God.
And she gets killed by the Candyman. And Trevor fucking walks in because it looks like Helen's done it.
Understandably, this is probably the most understandable thing Trevor does is call the police.
Right. Well, because Helen did have a knife because she was going to stab Candyman. But so she's got this knife.
Yeah.
And Bernadette is dead.
Yes.
And there's blood everywhere. So he walks in and calls the police.
When we see Bernadette's brutally murdered body, it's fucking gruesome.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And actress Casey Lemons had to lay like that in makeup and covered in fake blood for a pretty fucking long time.
Oh, no. Ugh, I bet it's cold, too. Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
So Helen comes to, and she is handcuffed in bed. The police are there doing an investigation, and they take her into a police car. Candyman's talking to her. He's not necessarily there. He's like in her brain, talking to her, and says that she needs to learn from him. He says he is a roomer, and it's a blessed position to have. Yeah. And she prays that he won't kill baby Anthony because she knows that he has baby Anthony. She's admitted into a mental institution, and back then they tied you to the bed in the mental institution, and Candyman is hovering over her and wants to kiss her, and she starts yelling like, he's here, I need help, blah blah blah, and all they do is come in and sedate her.
Here's the thing about Candyman that some people, and perhaps you, our listeners, might find curious. We've talked about how he's the embodiment of a dark past of slavery, how he represents this and that, but why does he kill innocent people? You know, we've kind of touched on it, but wouldn't, if he's this tragic figure, wouldn't it track more with his backstory to kill like all the rich white people, right? The upper crust. Well, true, but here's where this horror villain displays those layers, you know, I talked about. He's not a one-directional boogeyman. He has Helen, his lost love, but also in order to go on, he has to kill to keep the legend alive.
Right.
You know? It's what he has to do. He must have people believe he is real, because when people forget, he goes away. So in order to do that, he kills anyone who says his name, and mostly the innocent do that within Cabrini Green, because in the end, the white upper class don't believe in him, and they don't really talk about him a lot. So why would they sit there and say his name in the mirror?
Right.
You know, he can't touch them, but Candyman is an all real threat to these lower class people trying to survive, and to those who doubt him, he kills, keeping his legend alive, which is I find really fascinating about this character,
right?
Because he's not flesh and blood or nothing. He's not in your dreams. He's not like that.
You're literally summoning him.
Yeah, he's a spirit or a specter, whatever you want to call him, but you're summoning him into the real world
to kill you. Yeah, he chooses to kill you because you're questioning his existence.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, no, I'm fucking here.
And seeing those murders go unsolved, it keeps everyone else on edge. You know?
Right. Some people come in and take Helen to see Dr. Burke. She says that she just wants to talk to her husband. And he says that she has been there a month, but heavily sedated the whole time. And they need to assess her ability to stand trial. And she's been charged with first-degree murder.
Yep.
He asks her what happened at the apartment and then shows her a video of the first night that she was there. This is when she realizes that nobody else can see Candyman.
Right.
But I guess she thought beforehand that people could because she could, but no, they can't see him.
Yeah. Basically, he chooses who he appears to, which is kind of cool.
She's just not capable of murder.
Yeah.
And she says that she can prove that this is real by calling on Candyman. So she looks in the mirror and says his name 5 times.
And what I love in this movie is how real it does feel. You know, Candyman's powers are kind of kept vague. You know, yeah, he's not possessing anyone. He's not casting magic spells or anything like that. He may hypnotize Helen, but like I think that's more of a I don't know. But, you know, his powers are kept pretty vague.
Right.
You just know he's this legend come to life. He's a story. That's it's fucking creepy. That's what I mean by creepy. It's what would happen if our urban legends and stuff turned out to be real. Like, what would you do if you found that out? You know, shit like that. And there's always bits of truth to them. In fact, what it was really smart line earlier when she first meets Jake, when Helen first meets the little boy, she says, you know, well, it's not real. You know, it's just a story, just like Dracula and Frankenstein. The thing is, like, if you trace back Dracula and Frankenstein, you'll find they do have some basis in real life.
Right.
You know, Mary Shelley was influenced by certain things, and Dracula was based on Vlad the Impaler, a loose, you know, adaptation. So all these stories always have little bits of truth to them.
Right.
You know, that's how an urban legend usually gets off and going. So it's very interesting. You know, I know. I love how he plays with the lines and stuff in this movie.
Right.
Now, we're dealing with a ghoul who comes out of a mirror when you say his name, but the fact that no one believes her and she's dealing with some of the consequences of her actions. You know, we talked about how she was wrong in the beginning of the show, how some of her actions are not very commendable. But yeah, you can see that here. You know, she's starting to realize.
She's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Candyman shows up, but he kills the doctor.
Now, when you first saw this, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when you first saw this, did this scare you? Did this shock you?
No, not really.
Really?
I kind of expected it.
Oh, okay. I just remember I watched this when I was a kid, though. So obviously I did not expect this.
Oh, yeah.
Not expect
so
this.
So you're like freaked the fuck out?
Yeah, because also what you're led to believe during these scenes is that this is all in Helen's head and she probably is murdering people. You know, that's what they're kind of pointing you to.
Oh, right.
So when he pops up behind this doctor and guts him from fucking behind, that is the coolest fucking murder I've ever seen. Guts him from fucking behind. That scared the ever-loving piss out of me. Like, holy shit.
That's hilarious. So Candyman's talking to her and says, "You're mine now." And he flies out the window. She makes it out of the hospital and goes to talk to Trevor.
Yeah.
This is the funniest scene in the whole movie to me. So she walks into the apartment and they're painting it. Stacy, the little girlfriend from the school, she's there. She's painting the apartment pink, like bubblegum fucking pink. It's annoyingly gross. She just looks mortified when she sees Helen. And then Trevor comes out and he looks mortified too.
I love when he comes out because she screams and he's like, "Oh, did you make a boo-boo? Oh, fuck."
Right.
You're supposed to be in the booby hatch.
Right. They talk a little bit back and forth because Trevor's scared and says that he should call the hospital.
Yeah, because I mean, in reality, he does think she's murdering folks. I mean,
right. Like he thinks she's gone insane. So he's like, what the fuck? And she says she isn't a murderer. And then says it's over and just leaves.
Yeah. Cause I mean, obviously this is the the co-ed that her husband's stooping.
Right.
I guess they're husband. Are they dating? Are they? We don't. Is that made clear?
Helen and Trevor?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're married.
Oh, they're married. Okay.
Yeah. So Helen's doing her own thing or whatever, and Candyman says to her that they will all abandon her, and all she has left it is his desire for her. She's at Cabrini Green now in the abandoned apartment.
Yeah.
She goes through the mirror into the other apartment, and there are candles lit everywhere and hooks, which is weird. She grabs one and goes into a hole on like the ceiling, like
Yeah.
she's following all these things. And it goes into like another apartment thing, I think.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It's really hard to determine what it is. But anyway,
Yeah.
Candyman is there and he's sleeping. So she stabs him with the hook, but he's just fine.
Right.
And she wants to know where baby Anthony is. And he says to surrender him to him and the baby won't be hurt.
Yeah. So he's using this baby to get her even further into agreeing with him because, I mean, up until this point, she isn't going along with him willingly. You know?
Right.
At the same time, still, like I said, still there's something drawing her to him.
Yeah. Like, why did she go back to Cabrini Green twice?
Right.
Like,
Candyman's, his kind of lair here, it resembles like that Gothic structure, like a castle. I really like the looks of this. Within Cabrini Green. Another beautiful part of this movie that helps it along is the amazing score by Philip Glass. The main theme, Helen's theme as it's called, is so simple yet so effectively creepy. That
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's become very well known. It's amongst horror film fans' favorite themes, like from A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's up there with those. But when Philip Glass, who composed this, signed on to compose this movie, he was envisioning something entirely different, apparently.
Oh, no.
More along the lines with Clive Barker's short story. But when he saw the finished movie, he was kind of mad. Because he felt manipulated because he felt like they turned something that could have been artful into a slasher, which I don't agree with because I think this movie is very artful. I just don't think Philip Glass saw a lot of slasher movies.
Right.
Because this is a weird movie because, in its bones, it's a slasher, but at the same time, it's not.
I don't feel like it is.
This does not fit in with the slasher. Like,
to me, it doesn't.
Yeah, there's no tropes. Like, there's none of those. There's no final girl, really. Like, unless you want to count Helen, but not really. I mean,
no, she dies.
Yeah. I would say not a slasher. I would say Candyman more resembles a gothic ghost story. Like, it's more of a ghost story movie.
Right.
A haunting and stuff like that. It's not so much a slasher.
No, not at all.
Yeah, even with the brutal deaths. It still just does not scream slasher to me.
Right.
But anyway, he felt manipulated. But over time, Philip Glass got his panties out of a bunch and agrees it's a classic. And he's still okay with getting checks every year.
Oh, well, yeah. So Candyman carries her to a table and tells her that they will be immortal. And he's kind of getting sexual with that hook on her body. She touches him and kind of opens his jacket, and there are bees on her. Then she sees that he is just bones and all these bees. That's what he's made of. Then the bees start coming out of his mouth. Then he kisses her and she passes out. And he takes the baby and says, "You're mine now." Yeah. God, don't kiss me with bees in your mouth.
You don't want a bee kiss?
No. Thank you.
The bees.
No.
The bees, not the bees. Again, real bees here. These were controlled by Norman Gary, who had previously handled bees in the film My Girl.
Oh.
So you can blame Norman Gary for Macaulay Culkin dying. He also did the bees in Fried Green Tomatoes, which we haven't gotten to that movie, but I think we're going to cover Fried Green Tomatoes because I think it counts. It's technically not, but it's also a Stephen King property. Stephen
okay.
King writes a lot of other stories too that aren't just trucks coming alive or
Okay.
about Pet Cemetery. But anyway, I would love to cover that movie on this show. But this film uses more than 200,000 real honeybees. The crew wore protective gear, but you're always going to get stung once, no matter how hard you try,
Right.
And Tony Todd, who had to be coated in bees through a good portion of this movie here, even in his mouth. Like those are real bees in his mouth, only protected by a dental dam. In fact, he was smart and negotiated a bonus of $1,000 for every bee sting. And I believe over a total of 3 movies here, he sustained 23.
Oh, dang.
So yeah, he got 1,000 for sting. Now Madsen almost didn't take this part because of the bees, but Norman Gary used freshly hatched bees to cover her because apparently those are less likely to sting you.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, also, Virginia Madsen was supposedly allergic to bees. So this was a problem. And I have not heard if she got stung. So I'm assuming she's okay. Oh, she's alive. I mean,
Right.
or she does.
That doesn't mean that she didn't get stung,
That's
though.
true. That's true. She does say in the commentary, she was like, it's kind of weird because you're sitting here and there's a net around you. And everyone's wearing suits and stuff except for you and your co-star. And there's all these bees.
Just bees flying
Yeah.
everywhere.
What's odd is they cut this embrace scene when they're spinning because they're on like this turntable thing and they're
Right.
spinning around, which is it's a gorgeous shot. They cut some of the embrace. They trimmed it down and stuff a lot because they were worried about interracial context. And I gotta say, that's bullshit. Like
Right.
we see Tony Todd burn alive in this fucking movie and get stabbed and they talk about cutting him up and all sorts of shit, but you can't show him kissing a white woman. Like,
Nope.
okay.
It's the bees. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. I just feel like that's a weird place to not grow a hair.
Right.
Anyway.
Helen wakes up and Candyman and Anthony are gone. She sees on the wall where it says it was always you, Helen, and she hears Anthony crying and finds him in a pile of stuff outside. She climbs this pile to find him, and Jake sees her outside and says he is here. Oh, because she grabbed a hook on her way out, and all Jake sees is the hook. So he thinks Candyman's there.
Right.
So a few of these residents they grab gas cans and start pouring gasoline on this pile of stuff. Just as Helen is getting to Anthony.
Right. Now, to some people, this bonfire scene seems a bit out of place because it's like, wait, why are they having a bonfire? Because, I mean, these are arranged like they're about to have a big-ass blaze, so obviously they're ready.
And Jake had told her earlier in the movie, and I should have wrote this down, but she was like, what's that for? And he was like, the party.
Yeah, and you're like, what? Okay, so what that is, it comes from the book. It comes from Clive Barker's short story. And what they're doing in that book is they're celebrating Guy Fawkes Day, which is Guy Fawkes was the guy who tried to burn down Parliament.
Oh, okay.
And he's very much celebrated in British history and stuff like that. Go look him up, you guys. That's an episode on itself. But also, what's really interesting, if you look in Helen's bathroom earlier in the movie, there's a Guy Fawkes mask on the side of the wall. You know,
okay.
so it's kind of. I think he left it in there as a tribute.
To
the
book,
original story is what it is. But basically, bonfires are a big celebration of that day. You know, you have a big bonfire to celebrate, you know, Guy Fawkes trying to burn down Parliament, which now that I think about it, is kind of a strange celebration. Anyway,
but whatever.
It'd be kind of like if we fucked our cousins in celebration of the January 6th assault on the Capitol.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Oh, you guys are cousin fuckers. All right, anyway. Moving on. But I'm sorry. Oh, fuck those people. So yeah, you know, it seems kind of odd, but hey, whatever. It makes for an effective scene coming up.
Right. So everyone comes out, and Jake is saying that he saw Candyman's hook. So they set this pile on fire. Candyman is inside there and grabs Helen and says they need to leave. And she stabs him with a stick that's on fire. She crawls with Anthony to get out. She's on fire. Like, her hair is on fire. Her whole fucking back's on fire. And as she gets out, the people put her out. And Anne Marie is there and gets Anthony back. Candyman blows up inside of this pile, and these bees just go flying everywhere.
Yeah, and during this scene, Virginia and Tony were really close to some actually very real flames, which is very scary, and they had to be super careful. I think Virginia Madsen said that luckily the way Tony is holding her there is on purpose to keep her kind of shielded from the heat, because if you know, he's got a big jacket on and stuff like that. And of course there are stuntmen in this movie. It's not like they were like, hey, go wild in this bonfire. Right. No, like there are stuntmen, but on the close-up scenes, it's actually them. And so the way he's there is done on purpose to protect her from some of the heat.
Oh, yeah. Ugh, that's terrible. So now we're at Helen's funeral. Only Trevor and his girlfriend and a few other people are there. Everyone from Cabrini Green shows up, and Jake goes up and throws Candyman's hook in her grave site, and they leave. So I have a question about this.
Okay.
And I think I know the answer, but I just want to clarify. Are they coming to show tribute, like basically to thank her for finding Candyman and killing him?
Yes.
Okay.
It's part that.
Okay.
It's also part she's now the legend.
Well, okay.
Yeah, Candyman lives on. It's part that too. It's part to show that, because as you hear Candyman explain throughout the movie, the congregation, keeping the legend alive, keeping him alive. Well, now she's part of the legend.
Because she's killed him.
Yes.
Right. I got you.
And so you can kind of read into that scene however you want, but the way I look at it is they are showing tribute,
That's what I thought too. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because like if they were mad at her or whatever, why would they show up at her funerals?
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because in the end, she returns the baby and she actually does some good.
Right.
She kind of effectively kills off their boogeyman.
Right. Trevor and Stacy are back at their place. It's now their place. And Trevor is looking stressed.
And she is wearing, what shirt is this? It is like not so much see-through everywhere else, but the nipples?
Just the nipples are see-through.
Just the nipples. I was like, what the fuck?
They were like, there's a lack of nipples in this movie, even though you see Helen's nipples like 3 times.
Let's throw in some nipples, y'all. It's like, wait, what? You chose now? Like, it's just so weird because it's almost as if they wetted just the spots on her nipples.
So they're back at their place. Trevor's looking stressed in the bathroom. Stacy's mad because Trevor doesn't want to eat. So she's throwing a little temper tantrum.
Chopping steak like an insane person.
Yeah, like she's like assaulting this fucking steak like it did something to her.
I know, what the fuck.
And he's having flashbacks of Helen, and he ends up saying her name in the mirror 5 times, and she shows up and kills him.
Which, yes. And by the way, epilepsy alert here. This whole
God.
last scene is all strobe.
There's a couple of scenes in this movie that are all strobe.
So there's an alert for you guys. But here, I fucking love it. What a fantastically satisfying ending to this beautiful movie. You get sad because Helen had to die to learn the truth and stuff and really discover a few things in her character arc. But also you get to see Trevor get his shit gutted and fucked up.
Oh yeah,
by her
you. Yeah.
At the end. It's so great. Now, Candyman had its world premiere at the 1992 Toronto International Film Festival as part of the Midnight Madness lineup, and then was released in October 16th, 1992 in the United States, where it made $25.7 million on its humble $8 to $9 million budget. Critical response was it was very good. Generally favorable reviews, but you did have its detractors who called out the racial implications. You know, we talked about that mostly
Right.
with creating a black boogeyman. But while I respect those views, I don't necessarily share them here. You know, I see Candyman as a wonderful horror monster who deserves his place amongst Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers. Now, the film would go on to have 2 sequels that weren't great, but if you just want to watch more of Tony Todd as this character and see Purcell get his shit fucked up, because in that sequel, that's the first person that dies is that dude who tells the legend. He gets fucked up. But you know, go watch those. They're okay. They're okay on their own, right? They're good. But this one stands alone as, I don't know, it's a classic. Now, excitingly, there is a spiritual sequel and reboot coming, produced by Jordan Peele and directed by the wonderful Nia DaCosta. And I am so happy to see it soon. It has been pushed back, I think, twice. And hopefully, we're fucking gonna get it, because they've said that they do not want to release it on streaming. You know, they want this to be seen in theaters, and I'm okay with that. You know, I want to see Candyman on the big screen.
Right.
Rumor has it that Tony Todd might be back as the Candyman, but that's a rumor, so we don't know. We haven't really been told a lot about this movie yet, which I want to be surprised, so I'm all cool with that. In the end, Candyman has its flaws, but it also has its lessons on race and social class woven into its wonderful story. And even without dissecting its allegories or lessons or whatever I mentioned out of opinion, it remains a beautiful Gothic type horror tale and a wonderful take on urban legends as well. So enough about me praising this movie. How did you feel about 1992's Candyman?
I really liked it.
Yeah?
I like the message that it portrays, and for some reason, you've put it off, and I didn't understand why. When I watched it through the first time, I was like, "Why did he put this off so much?" But then, as we kind of talked about it, the deeper meanings and stuff like that, I'm like, "I got you." And then when I did my notes, I was like, "Okay." And now I'm really understanding, because I focus a lot more when I'm doing my notes and stuff like that.
Well, that you know, we're 2 white people. I mean,
right.
Let's be blunt. We're 2 white people talking about Black history and stuff like that.
Right.
And that can come across as kind of douchey. You know, it can come across as wrong. And I wanted to make sure our audience and stuff, when we got an audience, because now we do, we have a nice cult following, but I wanted to make sure our audience was receptive to that.
Right.
And they have been, you know, because what we try to do is we try not to well, the 2 things I try not to do is mansplain and white privilege splain anything in these movies that pertains to race and social class and stuff like that, you know? So we try to keep it like that. And I wasn't sure of myself when we first started the show, because we could have covered Candyman a long time ago.
Right.
But I chose to wait.
I liked it.
But it wasn't too scary, you felt?
No, not at all.
Go say Candyman 5 times in the mirror.
I'll do it right now.
Oh, God, fuck that.
Oh, that mirror is under my chair.
I'm good.
You ain't doing it?
I ain't doing it. I don't know. I don't want to say anyone's name anytime in the mirror for fear.
I mean, I did Bloody Mary a million times in my childhood, so...
Just go into the bathroom real slowly, turn off the lights with a candle lit.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa.
Oh, if that was a thing.
What the hell am I doing here? But anyway, that's 1992's Candyman. We thank you guys for joining the ride. I know this wasn't a funny laugh out loud episode. You know, I'm sure parts were entertaining, but I thought, you know, some of the things in here required some seriousness. So I hope I hope we taught you something, you know. That's what we like to do on the show. We like to entertain, but also teach, because, you know, teaching on other podcasts tend to be a little boring. So we deliver it our own way. But next week, we've gotten requests for this movie so much. And I wanted to hold off until listener request month, which is in by the way, people, listener request month is listener request month is in March, and you should have your start sending in those requests, man. Listener request month is a month in March where we take, well, it is March.
A month in March.
where we take your requests and we pick 4 out of a hat and then we throw them on the show, and you can write in and stuff, or you can write in your request, keep it brief because we will read it on the air. And if you don't want your name put out there, maybe put an alias or something. But also, if you want to send in a sound clip, we'll play it on the air too. We've done that in the past. But anyway, I didn't know if I should save it, but I kind of wanted to get it out of the way because I'm very excited about this because it took forever to find the out-of-print DVD.
Right.
And I do realize I could buy the Blu-ray for $25, but I wanted to buy the out-of-print DVD because that's who I am. But we are covering Cemetery Man, Rupert Everett's horror movie. And Rupert Everett is known for My Best Friend's Wedding, I think. I don't know. He's not my favorite actor, but this movie is off the wall fucking batshit. And I cannot wait for you to watch it because the what the fuck's on that episode. But that's next week. And we are really, first of all, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for becoming, joining our congregation here on Night of the Horror File.
Oh, we are not a cult.
And be sure,
I've told you can't start one of those.
I know. Be sure to swing on by the Patreon. You're going to find some awesome stuff on there. But anyway, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
You don't have a mirror in front of you.
Oh, I don't know. The bees!
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.